The hall shimmered with golden light and whispers of admiration. Every detail had been curated to perfection. Ivory roses cascading from crystal vases, a quartet softly playing Pachelbel's canon, and a faint scent of jasmine drifting through the air. Amelia Grant had planned this day for over a year, down to the last ribbon and champagne flute. Her mother dabbed at her eyes, whispering, "You look like a dream, darling." Amelia smiled, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. Her reflection stared back from the vanity mirror. White silk gown, flawless curls, diamond earrings. Everything about her was beautiful. Everything was perfect. Almost. She drew in a deep breath as the doors opened. The crowd turned, a collective intake of awe echoing through the hall. The organ swelled. And there he was, Daniel, her fiancé, standing at the altar, his expression soft, proud, and utterly in love. Her heart should have fluttered. Instead it clenched. Her gaze flicked, almost involuntarily, to the man standing just beside Daniel. The best man. Ethan Blake. His calm confidence, the faint smirk that always seemed to say he understood her better than anyone else. She hated that her eyes found him first. Don't look at him. Not today. Not ever again. She stepped forward, the soft rustle of her gown mingling with the melody. Each footstep echoed with the weight of expectation, of promises, of pretending. And then it happened. The moment that would unravel everything. Her inner voice, sharp, quiet, and buried beneath years of politeness, rose to the surface. But this time, it didn't stay inside her head. "I wish I was marrying his best man instead." The words reverberated through the hall. Out loud. Clear. Audible. The music stopped. The whispers didn't. Gasps rippled through the guests like a shockwave. The officiant blinked, uncertain whether to continue or flee. Daniel's expression shattered. Disbelief frozen across his face. Ethan's eyes widened, his usual composure slipping into visible shock. Amelia froze, color draining from her face. What? I didn't say that," she stammered, hands trembling. But she had. Everyone had heard it. Her mother's hand flew to her chest. Her father muttered, "Good Lord!" Someone dropped a glass in the back row, the sound punctuating the silence like a gunshot. "Amelia," Daniel said finally, his voice low and dangerous. "What was that supposed to mean?" She shook her head, panic flooding her. "I didn't mean it. I swear. I don't even know how that." Her mind screamed for an explanation, but none made sense. She hadn't spoken those words, at least not intentionally. It was as if her thoughts had betrayed her, broadcasted to every horrified witness in the room. Ethan stepped forward, trying to defuse the chaos. "Maybe it was a misunderstanding," he offered, though his voice carried uncertainty. Daniel glared at him. "A misunderstanding? Really, Ethan?" Amelia's inner voice, now fully aware of its rebellion, whispered again. "Oh no. No, no, no. What have you done? Can we take a moment?" she begged the officiant. But the officiant wisely, simply closed his book and took a respectful step back. The wedding had stopped. The illusion was shattered. In the silence, Amelia could feel every eye on her. The bride who confessed love for another man at her own wedding. Her thoughts tumbled into chaos. Panic, guilt, heartbreak, confusion. Beneath it all, though, was the undeniable truth. The one she had buried beneath silk and smiles for months. She did love Ethan. And now everyone knew. As Daniel turned and walked away from the altar, guests whispering furiously, Amelia's heart sank. Her perfect wedding was over. But her real story, the one she'd been too afraid to face, had only just begun. The silence after Amelia's accidental confession was deafening. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats, glancing at each other in stunned disbelief. The perfect wedding had become the perfect scandal. Daniel stood at the altar, his hands clenched tightly at his sides. His face, usually warm and composed, was a mask of confusion, hurt, and rising anger. "Amelia!" His voice was low, trembling with the effort of self-control. "Explain this." Amelia's heart pounded in her chest, her silk gown suddenly feeling like a straitjacket. She opened her mouth, but words failed her. How could she explain that her innermost thoughts, never meant for anyone's ears, had betrayed her? That her feelings for Ethan weren't a fleeting fancy but something she'd tried to suppress for months? I didn't mean to say that," she stammered finally, her voice barely audible. "I didn't mean to say it?" Daniel echoed sharply. "You thought it. That's worse." His eyes flicked to Ethan, who shifted awkwardly on the other side of the altar, suddenly painfully aware of the room's scrutiny. Amelia's inner voice groaned. "Yep. That's exactly how you wanted this to go. Horribly." Her mother, Evelyn, rushed forward, placing a trembling hand on Amelia's shoulder. "Darling, it was just a moment of stress. Weddings are emotional, you know." "Emotional?" "She just confessed she wishes she were marrying someone else." Daniel's voice rose, echoing through the hall. "Right here in front of everyone." The guests murmured among themselves, a flurry of whispers, gasps, and shocked laughter filling the air. Social media was already being quietly consulted. One aunt subtly snapped a picture on her phone, knowing this would be a story the entire extended family would discuss for weeks. Ethan stepped forward, trying to calm Daniel. "Look, this isn't exactly what it sounds like." Daniel whirled toward him. "Oh, really? Care to explain why my bride, just admitted she wants to marry you?" Amelia buried her face in her hands, mortified. Her inner voice whispered, I told you everything would implode. No amount of calm breathing will fix this." Her bridesmaids hovered nearby, a mixture of concern and barely contained amusement on their faces. "Amelia," one whispered, "what are we going to do?" I don't know," Amelia admitted, the words tasting like ashes. I need a minute." The officiant, caught in the awkward storm, cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should pause for a moment, allow everyone to collect themselves." His words barely cut through the tension. Guests shuffled, some standing, some whispering. The caterers froze mid-step, unsure whether to continue serving hors d'oeuvres or evacuate the hall. Amelia could feel every eye on her, every judgment weighing her down like bricks. Daniel's face darkened further. "Amelia, how long have you felt this way?" His voice was tight, almost brittle. I didn't want this to happen," she whispered, finally lifting her gaze. "I didn't want anyone to know. But it's true. I've been confused. I didn't know how to handle my feelings." The room collectively inhaled. Ethan's jaw tightened. He hadn't expected this level of honesty, and now he wasn't sure how to respond without making things worse. Amelia's inner voice, finally allowing a trace of humor, muttered, "Well, at least everyone knows now. Congratulations. You've ruined everything perfectly." Her mother tried again. "Darling, maybe we should talk privately." "We can't. People are watching." But Amelia shook her head, determination mixing with panic. "No. Everyone should hear the truth. No more pretending. No more lies." Daniel looked like he might explode. Ethan's face mirrored his own internal chaos. And the guests, once enchanted by the picture-perfect wedding, now sat riveted, unsure whether to gasp, sympathize, or quietly flee. Amelia straightened her shoulders, her inner voice oddly proud. "This is terrifying. This is exactly what I needed." The wedding day had turned into a battlefield of truth, desire, and consequences. And there was no turning back. Amelia shut the dressing room door behind her and pressed her back against it, her breath coming in ragged bursts. The sound of distant voices, murmurs, gasps, the low hum of gossip, seeped through the walls like an echo of her own humiliation. The wedding hall had erupted into chaos, and she had fled before she could bear to see the disappointment in Daniel's eyes 1 second longer. Her bouquet lay abandoned on the vanity, the pale roses already wilting under the hot lights. Her veil hung askew, tangled in her curls. She caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror. Red-eyed, trembling, her lipstick smudged. The perfect bride had vanished. Her inner voice broke the silence, sardonic as ever. "Well, Amelia, congratulations. You've just made history as the first bride to confess to loving the best man. Live, in surround sound." She let out a dry laugh that turned into a sob. "This can't be happening," she whispered. "This can't be real." The door burst open, and her mother, Evelyn, swept in, her heels clicking like gunfire. "Amelia Grant!" she hissed, closing the door behind her. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" The reporters outside, the guests. Daniel's mother nearly fainted. "I didn't mean to say it," Amelia cried. "I didn't even say it, it just happened." I thought it. Evelyn blinked, her anger faltering for a moment. You thought it? Amelia nodded miserably. I swear I didn't speak. It was just my thoughts, but everyone heard them. Her mother stared at her like she'd gone mad. Amelia, darling, I think the stress has gotten to you. You need to calm down before you make things worse. Before Amelia could respond, the door opened again, and her maid of honor, Jenna, slipped in, looking equal parts horrified and fascinated. You're all over social media, she whispered. Someone live-streamed the whole thing. Amelia's stomach dropped. No. Oh yes, Jenna said grimly. #wedding slip is trending already. Half the internet thinks it's fake. The other half wants to know who the best man is. Evelyn groaned. This is a disaster. Amelia sank into the vanity chair, staring at her reflection. It's not like I planned this, she muttered. I didn't even know She stopped herself, but the silence filled in the rest. Still what? Jenna asked gently. Amelia hesitated. Still. Felt something. For Ethan. Her mother gasped, clutching her pearls in theatrical horror. Amelia. You can't. He's Daniel's best friend. I know. Amelia said, her voice cracking. I know it's wrong. That's why I never said anything. I told myself it didn't matter. That I loved Daniel. That I'd get over it once I was married. But then your subconscious decided to make a public announcement, Jenna finished dryly. Amelia buried her face in her hands. I've ruined everything. A knock interrupted them. The door creaked open again, and for a moment, the air seemed to still. Ethan stood there, hesitant, his expression unreadable. His tie was loosened, his hair slightly disheveled. He looked nothing like the composed best man from an hour ago. Amelia, he said softly. Can I come in? Evelyn bristled. I think you've done enough, young man. Mom, Amelia said, lifting her head. Please. Her mother hesitated, then sighed dramatically and stormed out, muttering something about family reputations. Jenna followed reluctantly, giving Amelia a worried glance before slipping out behind her. Now alone, Amelia and Ethan stood facing each other in the quiet dressing room, the weight of everything unsaid pressing between them. You don't have to explain, Ethan began. This whole thing, it's insane. You must be mortified. That's one way to put it, Amelia said weakly. But I can't hide from it anymore. I meant it, Ethan. What I thought. I meant it. He froze. His throat worked, but no words came. Finally he said, You can't say that right now. Not today. I didn't plan to say it at all, she said with a hollow laugh. But it's true. I tried to ignore it, but you were always there. Being kind, understanding, everything Daniel wasn't when he got too busy for me. Amelia. Ethan took a step closer, his voice low. You don't understand what this does. Daniel's my best friend. I know, she whispered, her eyes filling. And I hate myself for it. For a long moment, neither spoke. The world outside the door hummed with chaos, but in that tiny room, everything felt suspended in painful stillness. Ethan finally exhaled and looked away. You need to talk to him. Not me. Not now. And before she could reply, he turned and left. Amelia sat there, tears spilling freely now, realizing that her secret had not only destroyed her wedding, it might have destroyed everything else too. Her inner voice, quieter this time, whispered, You wanted truth. Well, now you've got it. Ethan Blake had never hated silence until that day. The moment he stepped out of the dressing room, the wedding hall seemed to buzz with noise, whispers, camera clicks, and hushed speculation, but none of it reached him clearly. His mind was drowning in a different kind of noise. Guilt, confusion, and a small, painful spark of longing he'd spent months pretending didn't exist. He loosened his tie and headed toward the empty terrace, away from the murmuring crowd. Outside, the air was sharp and cool, a stark contrast to the suffocating tension indoors. He leaned against the railing, staring blankly at the manicured gardens below. What have I done? Not that he had actually done anything, but that didn't stop the guilt from clawing at him. Amelia's accidental confession had turned his loyalty into a spotlight, and everyone was looking at him like the villain in a soap opera. The doors behind him opened, and a familiar voice cut through the night air. You've got a lot of explaining to do. Ethan turned to see Daniel storming onto the terrace, still in his wedding suit. His face flushed with anger. The perfect groom no longer looked perfect. His tie hung loose, his boutonniere was crushed, and his jaw was tight enough to crack. Dan, Ethan started carefully. You need to calm down. Calm down. Daniel barked. You think I can calm down after my fiancée tells an entire room she wishes she was marrying you? Ethan clenched his jaw. I didn't make her say that. I didn't even know she felt that way. Don't give me that. Daniel's voice shook with disbelief. You've always been around. Always close to her. My parents used to joke that you spent more time at our place than I did. That's because you were never home, Ethan shot back before he could stop himself. You were always working, always planning, always distracted. Someone had to be there when she needed help. Daniel froze, the words hitting him harder than Ethan expected. So that's it, he said quietly. You were there for her. While I was trying to build something for us, you were what? Comforting her. Dan, it wasn't like that, Ethan said, running a hand through his hair. I never crossed a line. I never even thought. Don't lie, Daniel interrupted, stepping closer. You might not have said it, but you thought it. And now everyone knows. Ethan didn't reply. The silence between them was thick, electric. Somewhere inside the hall, music started again. Someone trying to restore order, but it sounded hollow and distant. Finally, Daniel shook his head, a bitter laugh escaping him. You were supposed to be my best man, Ethan. My best friend. And now I can't even look at you. Before Ethan could say another word, Daniel turned and walked back inside, shoulders stiff, leaving Ethan alone with the guilt gnawing at his chest. He sank onto the nearest bench, his thoughts spiraling. He hadn't wanted this, hadn't wanted to feel anything for Amelia. But every time she smiled, every time she laughed at his terrible jokes or asked for help with the wedding planning while Daniel was on another business trip, something inside him had shifted. He'd buried those feelings deep, convinced they meant nothing. But now they were out in the open. His secret exposed without a word from him. A voice startled him. Mind if I sit? He looked up to see Jenna, Amelia's maid of honor, standing with a half-smirk and a glass of champagne. Don't worry, I'm not here to slap you, she said, sitting beside him. Yet. Ethan managed a weak laugh. That's considerate of you. She studied him for a moment. You really didn't know she felt that way? He shook his head. I knew she was unhappy. But I thought it was just nerves. Cold feet. I never imagined she loved you. Jenna finished for him. Not unkindly. Yeah. I think everyone imagined it now. He sighed. Great. Just what I needed, a viral love triangle. Jenna chuckled, sipping her drink. It's a mess, but, for what it's worth, I think she finally said what she's been afraid to admit. Maybe that's not the worst thing. Ethan turned toward the glowing hall, where laughter and whispers continued to ripple. Maybe not, he said quietly. But it feels like the end of everything I care about. Jenna tilted her head. Or the start of something you were both too afraid to face. He didn't answer. The night stretched before him, heavy with consequences, uncertainty, and something else. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. As the faint sounds of shattered champagne glasses and awkward laughter drifted through the air, Ethan realized one thing. No matter what happened next, nothing would ever go back to normal. By morning, Amelia Grant's wedding wasn't just a disaster. It was global entertainment. The incident had spread across the internet like wildfire. Within hours, clips of her wedding day confession dominated social media, accompanied by every possible headline. Bride confesses love for best man at the altar, #wedding slip goes viral, the most awkward ceremony ever caught on camera. By noon, memes flooded every corner of the web. Pictures of Amelia's shocked face paired with captions like, when your thoughts forget to stay inside your head. The entire world seemed to be laughing at her most humiliating moment. Amelia sat curled up on her couch, still in her robe, staring blankly at her phone. The number of missed calls was staggering. Her parents, friends, journalists, and a few unknown numbers that were probably tabloids. She'd turned off her notifications after the 10th call from Bridal Monthly requesting an exclusive interview. Her inner voice groaned miserably. Well, congratulations. You've gone viral. Exactly what every bride dreams of. The television hummed softly in the background. Even the local morning news couldn't resist. In today's trending story, the anchor said with an amused grin, a wedding turned chaotic when the bride confessed her feelings for the best man. Turn it off, Amelia muttered, grabbing the remote and clicking the screen into silence. Her mother stormed into the apartment moments later, looking like she hadn't slept. Do you realize what kind of circus this has become? Evelyn snapped, tossing a tabloid onto the coffee table. They're calling you the runaway heart bride. Our family name is being dragged through the mud. Mom, I didn't ask for this, Amelia said tiredly. Oh, didn't you? Evelyn shot back. Because it certainly seems like you wanted the attention. Why else would you? Because I fell in love with the wrong person. Amelia shouted, startling even herself. The room fell into a stunned silence. Her mother's expression softened, just slightly. Amelia. What about Daniel? I care about him, Amelia whispered. But I never loved him the way I should have. I told myself I did because it was easy, because he was good, stable, safe. But Ethan, she swallowed hard. Ethan made me feel something real. And I hated myself for it. Evelyn exhaled, rubbing her temples. You can't change what happened. But you can decide what to do next. What am I supposed to do? Amelia asked. Apologize to everyone? Go on talk shows and pretend it was stress? Her mother sighed. If you don't tell your side of the story, others will tell it for you. That thought chilled her more than anything else. Just then, a knock echoed through the apartment. Amelia tensed. If that's another reporter. But when she opened the door, it wasn't a journalist. It was Daniel. He stood there, looking exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. The usual spark in his gaze was gone, replaced with quiet disappointment. Can I come in? He asked. Amelia hesitated, then nodded, stepping aside. Evelyn lingered awkwardly before retreating to the kitchen, giving them space. Daniel stood in the center of the room, staring at the framed engagement photos on the wall. So, he said flatly, I guess congratulations are in order. You're famous. That's not funny, Amelia said softly. No, he agreed. It's not. He turned to her. I've had a lot of time to think. About us. About him. Amelia's stomach tightened. I didn't want to believe it, Daniel continued. But I saw the way you looked at Ethan. I told myself it was my imagination. That you were nervous. That you loved me. He let out a bitter laugh. Guess I was half right. Amelia felt tears welling. Daniel, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I know, he said quietly. But you did. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Daniel stepped closer, his tone softer. You don't need to apologize for what you feel. But you should have been honest. You owed me that. I was scared, Amelia whispered, of ruining everything. You did anyway, Daniel said, his voice not cruel, just tired. Maybe it's better this way. You'll find whatever it is you're looking for. Just not with me. And with that, he turned and walked out. Amelia stood there long after the door closed, her heart aching. She had lost him, and she couldn't even blame anyone else. Her mother reappeared silently, placing a hand on her shoulder. It's over, Evelyn said softly. No, Amelia said, her voice trembling but resolute. It's not over. Not yet. Because deep down she knew. She couldn't move on until she faced Ethan. Until she told him everything. Her inner voice, quiet but firm, whispered, You've lost your reputation, your wedding, your peace. But maybe you'll finally find yourself. Amelia didn't expect to see Ethan so soon. After the scandal had exploded online and Daniel's family made it clear they wanted nothing more to do with her, she thought Ethan would vanish like everyone else, keeping his distance to protect what was left of his reputation. But fate, it seemed, wasn't done with her yet. It was late afternoon when she found him waiting outside the cafe where she and Daniel used to spend their weekends. Ethan stood by the window, his hands shoved in his pockets, looking both out of place and exactly where he belonged. When she walked in, the bell chimed softly, and he looked up immediately. For a few seconds, neither said a word. Then Ethan gestured toward the seat across from him. You came, he said quietly. Amelia slid into the chair. You asked me to. He nodded. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure either, she admitted, folding her hands on the table. After everything, I didn't think you'd even want to see me. Ethan gave a hollow laugh. Trust me, I tried to avoid it. But the media keeps knocking on my door, asking for the best man's confession. I figured we should at least talk before someone else decides what our story is. Amelia flinched. Our story. The word stung. I didn't mean for there to be an our story. Not like this. I know, Ethan said softly. But there is one now. And we have to deal with it. The waitress came by to take their order. Amelia asked for chamomile tea, Ethan for black coffee. Once she left, silence settled again between them, heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, Amelia spoke. Daniel came to see me. Ethan's shoulders tensed. How did that go? He's hurt. Angry. But I think he'll be okay. He deserves someone better than me. She hesitated, then looked him in the eye. Someone who doesn't think about another man while walking down the aisle. Ethan winced. Amelia. No, it's true, she said. I hurt him. I humiliated both of you. I didn't even realize how much damage one thought could cause. He shook his head. You didn't do it on purpose. That doesn't make it better. Ethan leaned forward, his voice quiet but firm. Then tell me something. Did you mean it? Amelia froze. He held her gaze. When you thought it, when you said you wished you were marrying me, was that the truth? Her heart pounded in her chest. There was no way to soften the answer. No way to protect anyone anymore. Yes, she whispered. It was the truth. Ethan exhaled, the tension in his shoulders easing for the first time in days. I thought so. Amelia frowned. You thought so? I hoped I was wrong, he admitted. But I could see it. Every time you looked at me, every time I tried to ignore what was right in front of me. He gave a bitter smile. I'm not exactly proud of it either. They sat in silence again, the clinking of cups and low murmur of other customers fading around them. After a moment, Amelia said, they're saying Daniel's family is threatening to sue me. For emotional distress or defamation of character or something ridiculous. Ethan sighed. That sounds like them. They're trying to control the narrative. She nodded slowly. My mom wants me to issue a statement. Something public, something to clean things up. But I don't even know what to say. Say the truth, Ethan said simply. For once, everyone already knows it. You might as well own it. She looked at him, studying his face. He was calm now, steadier than she felt, but there was something fragile in his eyes. Something that told her he was just as scared as she was. And you? She asked quietly. What happens to you after this? Ethan gave a small shrug. I'll probably get fired from my firm. My boss hates bad press. My mom keeps calling to ask if I ruined another girl's life. So yeah, it's been a good week. Amelia almost smiled. Despite everything. You always make a joke out of things. It's either that or scream, he said, smiling faintly. The waitress returned with their drinks. The steam from the tea curled upward between them, carrying a fragile kind of peace. Amelia wrapped her hands around her cup. Ethan, do you regret it? He blinked. Regret what? Whatever this is, she said softly. As the way things turned out. He looked down at his coffee, then back at her. No. I regret the timing. The chaos. The hurt. But not you. Something inside her cracked open at that. Something fragile and long suppressed. Ethan reached across the table, hesitating before his hand brushed hers. You don't have to decide anything right now, he said. Not about me, not about Daniel, not about the world watching. Just don't let shame decide for you. She met his gaze and nodded slowly. I won't. As they sat there, a sense of clarity began to take shape. Not resolution, but the faint outline of one. Amelia didn't know what would come next. But for the first time since the wedding, she wasn't running. From her feelings, from the chaos, or from herself. Her inner voice, calm and certain, whispered, the world already heard your truth. Now it's time you start listening to it too. 3 days after her disastrous wedding, Amelia Grant sat in front of a ring light, laptop open, and cameras streaming live to thousands of strangers. The comments on the side of the screen were a blur. Hearts, insults, support, disbelief. Her PR advisor had begged her not to do this. Her mother had pleaded for her to keep quiet. But for once, Amelia was done letting others speak for her. She had spent the past 72 hours in hiding, crying, reading cruel posts, ignoring messages from friends who wanted gossip disguised as sympathy. But through it all, one thought had anchored her. If I don't tell my story, they'll keep writing it for me. Now, here she was, raw, makeup-free, nerves trembling beneath her calm expression. She took a deep breath. Hi, everyone. I'm Amelia Grant. Some of you probably know me as the bride who wished she was marrying the best man. The comments exploded immediately, but she didn't stop. I'm not here to make excuses. I just need to tell the truth. Her voice shook slightly as she continued. Yes, I said it. Yes, I thought it. I fell in love with someone I shouldn't have. And I tried to convince myself it wasn't real, that I was just nervous, that I was doing the right thing marrying someone safe. But the truth has a way of finding you, doesn't it? She managed a small self-deprecating smile. Even if it chooses the worst possible time, like walking down the aisle. The live chat flooded with emojis, laughing faces, clapping hands, and a few broken hearts. Amelia pressed on. I didn't plan to hurt Daniel. He's a good man. I cared about him deeply. But marrying him would have been a lie. To him, to myself, to everyone watching. And maybe that's why it happened. Maybe some part of me couldn't let it go through. She paused, her throat tightening. I know I became a joke online. But behind that clip, there are real people. A man I hurt, another I care about, and a woman, me, who's learning how to live with honesty instead of fear. Her eyes softened as she looked into the camera. So no, I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I'm here to say, sometimes the truth ruins everything before it saves you. When she ended the stream, the silence in her apartment felt enormous. Her phone vibrated non-stop as notifications poured in, but she didn't check them. Instead, she leaned back and exhaled for what felt like the first time in days. Moments later, her phone buzzed again. This time, a call from Ethan. She hesitated before answering. Hey. I just watched it, he said, voice soft but steady. You were incredible. I was terrified, she admitted. You didn't sound it. Yeah, well, she gave a shaky laugh. I practiced lying for years. He chuckled quietly on the other end. Then his tone softened. So what happens now? Amelia stared out the window, watching the sunlight spill across the city. I don't know, she said honestly. Daniel deserves space. My mom's probably panicking. The internet will move on eventually. And us? He asked gently. She smiled faintly. Let's start with coffee. No cameras. No families. Just us. There was a pause, and then Ethan said, I'd like that. When the call ended, Amelia closed her laptop and turned her phone face down. She didn't want to see what the world thought of her right now. For the first time in forever, she didn't care. The truth was finally hers. Later that evening, she took a walk near the river. The same path she used to take when wedding stress felt unbearable. But today, the air felt different. Lighter. Every step carried a quiet sense of freedom. Her mind whispered, not in panic or guilt this time, but in clarity. You lost a wedding, a reputation, a perfect life. But you gained something better. Yourself. And for the first time in a long while, Amelia smiled without pretending. 6 months later, Amelia Grant's name no longer trended on social media. The viral storm that once consumed her life had finally faded into the background of the internet's ever-churning chaos. People had moved on to newer scandals, new memes, and fresh heartbreaks. But Amelia hadn't forgotten. She'd simply learned to live beyond the noise. The city had changed too. Or maybe she had. She now lived in a smaller apartment, one with more sunlight and fewer reminders of her old life. Her mother had eventually stopped fretting about the family's reputation, realizing that public shame couldn't ruin what was already broken. And Amelia's father had surprised everyone by telling her he was proud of her for finally growing a spine. Amelia had also quit her marketing job at Grant Industries. She now worked freelance, helping small businesses with branding. It was less glamorous, but every bit her own. No boardrooms, no expectations, no fake smiles. And on Fridays, she met Ethan at their favorite cafe, the same one where they'd first talked after everything fell apart. This Friday, she arrived early. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of roasted coffee and rain-soaked pavement. She chose the same corner table by the window, where the world outside looked a little softer. When Ethan arrived, he was smiling, the kind of smile that came easily now. He looked different too. The guilt that once shadowed his eyes had lifted, replaced by quiet steadiness. He sat down and set a paper bag on the table. "Peace offering," he said. She peeked inside. "Croissants. From that new bakery you wouldn't stop talking about." Amelia grinned. "You're learning." "I'm a fast learner when pastries are involved." They shared a light laugh. There was no tension between them anymore. Just something natural, easy, real. As they ate, Ethan leaned back in his chair. "You know, your live stream is still one of the most viewed videos of the year." Amelia groaned. "Don't remind me. I'm serious. It's kind of inspiring now. People say it helped them face their own truth." She blinked, surprised. "Really?" He nodded. "I saw a post the other day. A woman left her toxic job after watching it. Said if a bride can admit the truth in front of hundreds of people, she can do it too." Amelia shook her head in disbelief. "The internet is strange." "It is," he agreed. "But sometimes it listens." They fell into a comfortable silence. Outside, children ran through the park, chasing pigeons. A couple argued playfully over directions. Life continued, indifferent to past mistakes. Ethan reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. "You ever think about what would have happened if that slip never happened?" Amelia smiled faintly. "All the time. I'd probably be living in Daniel's family house, pretending everything was perfect, still wondering why I felt empty." "And me?" he asked softly. "You'd still be his best friend," she said. "And I'd still be lying to myself." She turned her hand, lacing her fingers with his. "So no, I don't regret it anymore. The timing was awful. The pain was real. But it led here. To this." He studied her for a moment, then said, "I like this." "Me too," she said quietly. They sat like that for a while, watching the late afternoon light shift through the cafe window, gold and gentle. For once, neither of them felt the need to fill the silence. Before they left, Ethan asked, "You ready for your interview tomorrow?" She laughed softly. "The podcast one?" "Yeah. It's weird. People actually want to hear what I think now. Not what I wear, not who I'm marrying, just what I think." "Imagine that," he said with a teasing smile. "Honesty being the new trend." Amelia chuckled, standing up. "Guess I was ahead of my time." As they stepped outside, the cool breeze tangled through her hair. She looked up at the sky, painted in soft shades of peach and violet, and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Her inner voice, once sharp and chaotic, whispered now with warmth. "You told the truth. You lost the world. And you found yourself." Ethan slipped his arm around her shoulders as they walked. "So," he said, "next time you walk down an aisle, should I take that as a warning?" She laughed, shaking her head. "Only if you're waiting at the end of it." And for the first time since that infamous wedding day, Amelia Grant didn't just feel like the woman the world had judged. She felt like someone who had rewritten her own vows. Not to a man, not to a family, but to herself. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more original novel stories. And stay tuned, our next story is coming soon.